welcome into our very first Angelo's opening day broadcast. Tonight, we celebrate the life and legacy of Angelo the Guy Rios and also celebrate our fourth Angelo's opening day. So, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, we appreciate you spending some of your Tuesday night with us. Please bear with us. This is the first time we've ever done this. So, if anything comes up, completely apologize there. But yeah, guys, when we decided to do this broadcast, as you all know, my mind started racing as far as like what we wanted this to be. And obviously, this is a donations drive because this is our biggest fundraiser of the year. But we wanted to come in and celebrate Angelo, of course, tell some amazing stories about him and the kids that we've been fortunate enough to welcome into our For the Guy family. But best of all, and in the spirit of Angelo, we just wanted to come in here and have fun. What do you guys think about that?
Love it. Excited just to, hear the stories again. And it's been a crazy couple years of doing this foundation, and it's exciting to kind of relive some of the stories. And I know we're going to hear Delilah's today, which is the most recent one. So it's exciting. It's been so much fun working with you guys and doing this foundation and getting to meet some amazing kids and hopefully give them some great experiences.
Really has. It's all been worth it. Jaime, I saw you unmuted yourself.
I mean, just seeing where we've come from, how far we've come, and where we hope to go in the future. I mean, I think it's been a neat journey, and I'm excited for where it's going to carry us.
Y'all, as always, if you are watching on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, you can comment and we can see your comments live on the stream. So you can interact with us. Tell us your Angelo stories. Tell us how you met Angelo. Tell us what you're doing on this Angelo's opening day to celebrate his life, even if it's just spreading some sort of positivity. Laura?
Well, first off, y'all, this is the first time that y'all are getting to hear from all four of us together. So I think we should probably start by introducing ourselves because that's like a stuff we kind of missed. Like we said, bear with us. It's our first time, so it's just getting some jitters out. But Dylan, do you want to start and then we'll go around?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the executive director. So I kind of run the day-to-day operations. I think I met Angelo probably around 12 years ago, but we'll go into how we met him and everything a little bit more later. But I'll let you guys introduce yourself. Tony, if you want to go.
Yeah, I'm Tony Jenna. I'm board chair and just excited to be working with y'all. This is fun. Jaime, if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Jaime Rodriguez. I'm the board treasurer and keeper of everything money related. As Angelo would probably tell me, is like, dude, you're an accountant. This is what you signed up for. Go figure.
Yep, we knew who our treasurer was going to be, like immediately. We knew. Laura?
And hi, everyone. I'm Laura de la Paz. I am the board secretary. Still trying to figure out what that means. I'm just kidding. No, we all contribute, keep things, if it's like documents or suggestions of stuff that we need to get taken care of. And yeah, just all doing it all. One of the coolest things that I've said about being a part of this team together with these gentlemen is that we all have different skills and we just bring what we can to the table. So that's been one of the best probably parts of this entire story, at least for me, has been able to keep Angelo's memory alive, because at the end of the day, he is what inspired the start of this foundation, and then getting to do it with people that I know loved him very deeply, but also people that he loved deeply, and what he meant to all of us, and keeping that story going too. So.
You are completely right, Laura. I couldn't have said it better myself. But yeah, we can kind of, I guess I wanted to transition into the origin story of where this foundation started. And I don't think I've actually ever told you guys this, but right before everything happened with Angelo, I had this idea before everything happened to do some sort of foundation because of him wanting to help people and wanting to, it was just like a seed planted in my head where we could do something to be helping people is what was crossing my mind. And of course, when everything happened, I reached out to all of you, and we were saying like we want to let Angelo's legacy live on in some way, and we were trying to figure out how to do it. Tony?
Yeah, and I think if we're going just into the origin of this, I think the big step was a couple months prior to him passing. We were all supposed to go, all four of us plus Angelo and a few other people were all going to the World Series, or not World Series, the final game at the old ballpark.
I wish
So
it was the
we were
World Series.
Me too. Me too. The old ballpark. So, we had been planning it for months. I think we had group tickets of 20 tickets, and there was a bunch of us going. And it was a sad day. It was an exciting day. It had all the emotions. We had the sign. Laura was able to check in Angelo's ticket. We kept his spot open. And it was just kind of a good way to remember him, have him with us at the last game. And I think after that day, we kind of really started to put things in motion and start the process of starting the foundation. So it was just a cool experience to kind of all be together for a day with such emotion and something great come out of it. So that was kind of when I think of the start of the foundation, it was that day for me.
Can I also say really quick, for those that are watching us, and a lot of you are probably very familiar, you're connected to Angelo yourself. Another thing for those that maybe don't know this, today is the actual anniversary of Angelo's passing. So that's why it is our opening day. It's a very special day. While it's very sad, for so many of us, and we know that y'all sharing that grief with us. It's we try to bring some light to the day. And so I know y'all keep hearing us reference, the day. And so I just kind of wanted to bring that up as well of part of the origin and when we decided to make it. Y'all are going to hear more from all of us as well about our personal stories with him, but why it's also called opening day. Opening day is baseball. Y'all have heard the story of how it's kind of odd because right now it's kind of, maybe like I've known this, but it never really made sense, was the day that it became more real. Like the reality is like the time Tony was sharing about that last day at the ballpark. It was the last day, so we're calling something opening day, but the day that this really became more feasible and more of a reality was on the last day of the season back in 2019. And so one of the things that we want y'all to know is that you will hear, that's why so much of it feels very baseball, is because that's really a foundation for all of us in our connection with him. But again, y'all are going to hear more of those stories as we go on tonight.
Jaime, what do you remember about that day?
I remember, from 4 years ago, from today to the day of that ball game, I just remember, there was a roller coaster of emotions just leading up to it, both up and down. And, some days were good, some days were hard. I remember being at the ballpark and just kind of soaking it all in, hearing the cheer of the crowd and, being around all of you guys, being around people closest to us and just kind of thinking to ourselves like, man, Angelo would love this. Like he was looking forward to this. And I think from at that point, we all started thinking the same thing of like, man, he would really want all of us to have a great time. He would really love it, for people to kind of have that experience and that same, wow, this is cool. This is neat. I think it started to click for us that right there is something that we could expand on, and we have an opportunity to share with others.
I think the thing I remember the most about that day, and I knew going into that day that it was going to make me emotional, was one, the national anthem. I knew that was going to get me because, Angelo always loved when the national anthem would be played at a sporting event because of, what it symbolizes and how it just brings everybody together in the stadium before the craziness that would be about to ensue. Two, it was a great atmosphere. Like it felt like a playoff atmosphere. It was, the Yankees were in town and they beat the Yankees. That was the best part of the day. But other than, of course, starting our foundation. But yeah. But here's a picture of us that day. We made sure that Angelo was there with us.
I still have that base sitting right over there in my office.
now I know that we talked about kind of where we started, but also we need to talk about why we started this and why we do what we do. And Laura, I'll kind of pass it over to you because you summed in our pre-show meeting that we had, you summed it up really great as who Angelo was when it comes to events.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things, like if someone were to ask me, can you tell me something about Angelo? I'm sure we can all come up with a lot of things, but one thing that was always consistent is that no matter who or like he came across and who he met, he always wanted to make sure that they lived their best life. And so one of the things that, you know, regardless of the hardships that he experienced or any of, any barriers, he never let those stop him from having a great time. And one of the best parts about him was that he wanted the people in his life, whether he knew them or not, if you encountered him, he wanted you to find joy in life too. And so when I was, we were talking about, like Dylan said in our pre-meeting, we were talking about what we wanted to show, what we wanted to say. Memory popped in for me, or a memory came back to me of how my roommate at the time, she was not into sports at all. And I remember Angelo she had never been to a sporting event. And Angelo was determined to change that. And it's like not to force the sport onto her for her to like it, but he just believed in the magic of being at an event and getting to, just at least if it's once in your life, you're getting to experience that. And for those that are watching and have, known us, for three of us, we all met Angelo at Brazos. And everyone that was there during my time living there knows my big love for a special player named Elvis Andrews. And so even people that didn't know baseball, they knew about Elvis, including my roommate. So Angelo had invited her to go to a Rangers game. Again, could care less about baseball or the Rangers or anything having to do with it. She did not know a single thing, but she knew about Elvis Andrews. And so the thing about Angelo when he would go to games is he wouldn't just go watch the game. For us, it was like a whole day experience. You'd go hours before the gates opened and you're just there getting the like adrenaline and getting the excitement. And then after the game, we would stay and hope to be able to talk to some of the players, right? And so he took Janet. Again, Janet had no idea what she was getting herself into. Oh, my bad, Janet. I said her name. But he took Janet to the game and, I remember her coming back and telling me all about it. And just that light in her eyes, again, it was such excitement. What she was so excited to tell me was that Angelo had introduced her to Elvis. Mind you, I had not met Elvis yet. And I was like, everyone knew how badly, and so many people had met Elvis through Angelo, but I still had not. Every time I would go, I just had the worst luck and it wasn't happening. And the joke at Brazos that I used to say was that Elvis was my boyfriend. He just didn't know it yet. And so when my roommate got the chance, Angelo made it a point to introduce Janet to Elvis. And the one thing Janet says to Elvis is like, "Oh, you're my roommate's boyfriend." And I remember that they came back and Angela was there when Janet was telling me. So I'm seeing her excitement and I was like mortified, but he was laughing so hard. And I know, like, just going back and remembering that moment, it was so much like I could tell that was so joyful to see how excited she was and that it was something that he was a part of. And so whenever we were talking about like, what is it that we want to do? We know we want to honor his memory. There was so many things that we could have done. We could have, he was at UTA. He was well known all across UTA in so many different parts of UTA, like whether it was through housing or like the radio or just so many different departments. I know he's in a fraternity, so he was well known. I know we could have partnered with UTA and said, hey, can we start a scholarship in his honor, right? So many options. And not that those can't happen, but for us, what I think we all agreed upon was the importance for him to make memories happen for others and for them to just have a good time, to escape, because for him the events were an opportunity to leave anything going on in life that maybe was difficult and have a few hours to spend just living your best life. And so we knew that when we were like, what is it that we want to do? We wanted to continue that Angelo magic into whoever we came across. So if I left anything out, y'all, please fill in. But that's kind of what I have.
No, you are completely right. There's a reason that the motto that we've used since the very beginning is it's the little things in life that matter. Why not just have a good time? He would always say that, and every single weekend you would find him at a Ranger game, at some concert, even an event at UTA. You would find him at just some random event that he had just found out about. Like if they were serving pancakes during the summer, like, or at the beginning of a semester, Angelo was going to be there. Like he had to go to events because he loved in making memories. Jaime?
And I'm sure all three of you know, I mean, with those events, regardless of what it was, if he found out about it, if he knew about it, he was going to give you a call and be like, hey, you want to go do this? You want to go do that? And I don't know how many countless times I've just picked up the phone and be like, yeah, let's go do that.
You want to go to Pluckers every single Friday?
I'm not going to lie and say that I didn't do that, but I mean, we accumulated enough points in 2019. We accumulated enough points to actually get one of our names on a plaque in one of their locations. That's how much we went. We spent a ton of money to the point where they knew us by name. We're like, all right, dude, we're gonna have to go to another one. we're too popular here.
Can I also say and add to this though? So I know we're sharing a specific example, but something that I also want to highlight that he was great at is that he would take the time, like for those that he got to know, he would take the time to find out their interest and then connect with them and then try to bring that experience to them. So like while y'all are hearing a lot about like sports or maybe even some music events, it's like it's the stuff that we shared in common with him. But I know I saw him do it with so many other people that he'd be like, what is, or even just with wrestling, like he would find something that person enjoyed doing. And it's almost like he made it his mission to bring it to life to them. Like, I want you to experience that live. And you didn't have to ask him. He wasn't doing it for a thank you. It's like he really got joy. That was what brought him joy. And it was really cool. Just how lucky we all were to get to know someone that cares so much about us that they wanted to bring joy to our life in this way.
Absolutely. Jennifer, thanks for the comments. Thanks for sharing your stories with Angelo. Of course, thanks for watching. We love sharing these stories. And if anybody that's watching has any stories of Angelo, feel free to comment them. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all of them will come through, and we will definitely see the stories. And like we were saying earlier, hearing those stories does bring a happiness to what should be a bittersweet day. Yeah, guys. Jaime, do you want to tell your mom happy birthday?
I did make sure to call my mama on my way home from work. I did tell her happy birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. I love you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We love you.
All right, y'all. We did get a message sent to us from one before we transition into our next topic. We did get a message sent to us, and we'll go into that now.
Hey guys, it's Corbin. I just wanted to tell you about my opening days. So that experience was one of the best days of my life, because not only was it opening day, but I got welcomed into a foundation that has since become a huge part of my life and changed it in ways that you could never imagine. And I don't think I'll ever be as grateful as I was for that experience. Thank you.
It just brings a smile to your face. For those of you that don't know, that was our very first for what we call them is for the guy recipients for their experience that we send them to, and that was our very first one. I'll go ahead and add some more stuff on the screen here. Corbin is what I like to call as our unofficial official spokesperson, and he you know, we were talking about how this is opening day. It's very baseball centric. So when we knew that we were doing this foundation, we knew the first event that we wanted to do was going to be Texas Rangers opening day. Not only was it opening day, not only was it Corbin's first opening day, but it was also the first game that they allowed fans into the new ballpark. What do you guys remember about that day?
I just remember the excitement. I mean, it was all of us. There was the excitement, the nerves. You know, it was our first recipient. It was, you know, meeting him for the first time, meeting his family, getting to know everybody, and just how, I mean, not only, you know, we felt like our goal was to welcome him into our lives, but they also welcomed us into their lives. I think since then we went to Corbin's graduation, and he just became, like you said, the unofficial official spokesperson for us, and he'd really just his whole family welcomed us into their lives, and it's been a huge honor for us to have such a great person and just such a kind heart and be part of our family now. And it's just it was one of the best ways we could have kicked off our foundation, was having someone like Corbin become part of the family.
Absolutely. A little bit of background on Corbin. He was born with spina bifida, and he's had over 30 surgeries in his lifetime. It's probably more now, but he's had over 30 in his lifetime, and he's just like Angelo in the way that no matter what is thrown at him, he takes it with a positive attitude. I mean, what do you remember about that day?
I remember, you know, the discussions that we had leading up to that day, the calls, the messages, the emails, just all of us talking about it. And, you know, when we actually got there and, you know, meeting Corbin for the first time, presenting him with, you know, the basket tickets and, you know, thinking of what to tell him, what to say, you know, I think what I didn't realize is like how much we didn't know going into it of how this was going to go. And not in a bad way, but just in a, you know, kind of those nerves and the excitement of like, you know, are we saying the right things, you know, and are we sure that he's going to have a great time? And don't get me wrong, Corbin had an amazing time, and he'll tell you every single time, I loved it. You know, glad I got, you know, I'm glad I got the opportunity to do it. He says it's just one of the best things that's ever, you know, the best thing that's happened to him. And for me, afterwards, thinking like, okay, we put it all together. It was great. I think the Rangers, did they win that day?
They did not. Unfortunately, okay. that was the only part of that day that was
way to bring that up
on the low side. Yeah.
Either way, I mean, just kind of going into it and after the fact, like all of us getting back together and be like, wow, we actually put on an event. We actually sent someone to an event. This felt, to me, it felt great. It felt like some sort of relief. I mean, I felt some kind of calm after that. I was just like, I'm glad we did this, and man, I can't wait till we do this again. You know, what can we do next?
And we kind of, Laura, I'm sure you can talk a little bit about this, but we kind of took a risk because of what was going on at the time. Even like the start of the foundation, you know, the first Angelo's opening day was 2020, and we all know what was going on then. We didn't even know at the time if fans were going to be able to go into the game until like a month before the game even happened. And even in that case, like it's still it was a scary time back then.
Yeah, it was so many unknowns, right? So many unknowns, kind of like Dylan referenced, like there was like rules set in place. And one of the things too is that it's things that were out of our control. But at the same time, we didn't want to give up, but we also wanted to make sure that whoever we sent, like we were also not putting more at risk, right? Because Tony said the word already earlier, and they our kiddos are recipients first, but the minute that they are in and they say yes, like I want this, they become a family member, right? And it's them and their families. We are very proud to say we are For the Guy family, and that goes everyone from our kiddos and their families to everybody that supports us. We could not do this without everybody. But that was a big part of it, is that the last thing we wanted to do was, like, we had such great intentions, but we did not want to put Corbin or anyone to receive this at a greater risk of maybe being exposed to something that could make them more ill. But seeing his family's excitement, seeing his excitement, I think for me, the word's been thrown around about it being exciting. What I remember most about that day was the nerves and the excitement, but also in a way, relief is the best way, because it's like, wow, like also the magic of it all. When we got to meet, I didn't know. It's like, can we, again, because like Dylan mentioned the times, it's like, do we hug? Do we not? Do we stay like 6 feet apart? Like, what do we do? Right. But just seeing how quickly they embraced us, and just how excited Corbin was to talk to us and get to know us. And, we always make it a point for our family members to get to also know Angelo and Angelo's story. Right. And for Corbin and his family to be so open to hearing that, and why all of this has meant so much to us, and how, like the guys have said, they've embraced us just as much. We just knew that it was right, and we were so excited to start it off. And I think that experience made us even more eager and ambitious to make sure that this was not a one-time event where we're like, thanks everybody for helping. And like, we wanted to make sure that this magic continued to spread for many years to come.
You are completely right. Completely right. I think the thing that kind of stands out to me is just how active Corbin still is with us, and how he always wants to be involved with us. And I know for a fact that he's going to continue to be involved with us and continue to be a For the Guy family member for life. Before we move forward, I also want to thank the nominator, Chelsea, who nominated him, because if you haven't seen the video, we posted it today on Facebook, telling Corbin's story and telling the story of opening day and what all of that means to us. So if you haven't got the chance to, please go ahead and watch that video. It's a really beautiful video. But our second event, if you do a Texas Rangers game, there's a pretty big stadium right next door that's a lot bigger and more expensive as well, and holds a lot more people. So we knew that the next event that we wanted to do was a Dallas Cowboys game. And that is when we received a nomination for Caden Drain. Caden was able to go to his very first Dallas Cowboys game and is a huge, huge Dallas Cowboys fan. But the thing that kind of, at least on my end, stood out about Caden is just how active he was in his community, especially during those times. He started when everything was going on in 2020 and 2021, he started his own foundation called Caden's Building Blocks and did a food drive for one of the local hospitals. He's an awesome big brother. He always does everything for his family, and as his mom said, he doesn't complain. His little brother has dyslexia as well, and Caden would always read to him and help him with his reading at night, and just not complain about it. Those are some of the things that stood out to me. What do you guys think? I know Tony and Jaime, we got to have a dinner with Caden before the Dallas Cowboys event, but what kind of stood out to you?
What stood out to me was whenever we went to dinner with him the night before the game, just how mature he was. I mean, he's a kid about to graduate high school, and I remember how me and Angelo were back those days. We were not maybe not as mature, but just so well spoken, thinking about the future, thinking about how he can help people, thinking about basically everyone but himself. It kind of seemed like he was just so selfless and just such a good person. And it was just great to get to know him. And I was excited that he got to go to the Cowboys game with his father. And it was just he's just such a good kid. I mean, I feel like we're going to say that about everyone, but he was just, the maturity level for someone at his age was just incredible.
and just to kind of hear him talk about, his ambitions, what he wants to do, what he's trying to do right now. I mean, given, in the midst of this the pandemic at the time, it was just amazing to hear him talk about, all these different things he had going on, and for him to be at such a young age and trying, and working actively towards all of these things. I mean, it's completely incredible. And, you know, knowing where he's at now and, going to school and, just and being in the band, and it's amazing. And when he told us, all of these stories about like, this is what I want to do, where we're like, man, I'm rooting for him. I really want to see him. I want to see him to go on and do great things. I mean, I think we even said like, if he's gonna be a doctor, we're like, all right, I was like, for him to have that ambition so early on and to keep with us, like we're like, this is great. Like, it's a great kid, great attitude.
Yeah, as Jaime is alluding to, Caden is now at Grambling State University studying to become a doctor, and is very. He's a champion behind equity in healthcare for people of color as well, and that's kind of that's one of his missions in life, is to do something like that. Caden's also a member of the world famed Grambling State University Tiger Marching Band. I had to make sure that I got the world famed in there, but like we were saying, you're for the Guy family for life whenever you become a member of our family. And I know, Tony, you can probably relate to this, but if I'm scrolling through ESPN Plus on a Saturday and I see that Grambling State's playing, I'm going to watch it just to see if I can see the band. Like if I could see Caden playing, like
definitely stay for halftime show.
Absolutely.
Don't they play at the Cotton Bowl too?
I feel like they do. I could be wrong about that, but I think that they do. But yeah, that was also, Laura, you can probably talk a little bit about this. So that was, we kind of changed our process a little bit for that one, and we've used it kind of ever since. That was the first time that we used a selection committee to help us choose who was going to go to the event.
Can I also shout out those selection committee members that I've seen in the comments? We're so happy to have y'all here, and we love y'all so much. And yes, so we wanted to make sure so that y'all have a little bit of background, because one thing is that we want to make this fair, right? And so we want to also give the opportunity to others that want to be involved to help us out. And this is one of the ways. And so I know we're going to be giving more information later on tonight, but ways that if you want to be involved, it's not just monetary. We don't get me wrong, we appreciate all the monetary donations, but you can also donate time, expertise, skills in so many different ways. And this was one we were trying to say, like, hey, how can we get other people that want to support our foundation involved? So we did we don't put names or anything like that, just to keep it fair. And as well as we were trying to keep it as neutral as possible. And then we just shared the stories with our nominations committee. We were also trying to find a way to not, to keep their privacy and respect that as well as best we could. And so we let the moms take over. They were big supporters of us starting this foundation, and all of our moms have, they love Angelo so much. He knew all of them well and had his own relationship with them. So they helped us, and this is how we got going in that step. And I remember that they were so touched by the stories, and it just felt right. It's like they just knew right away. And so again, shout out to you moms, and thank you for being a part of it.
Absolutely. And even the thing that kind of sticks out to me is when someone is vulnerable enough to share a story, even if for some reason they we go in a different direction like from their story. Everybody has always been so like thankful, even if we don't, we're a small foundation. So if we're unable to select someone, it stinks, but maybe one day we can get there to where we can send really whoever we want and whatever we want to their favorite sporting and entertainment events.
Really quick, can I also share, when it comes to Caden, one of the really, we wanted to, we were happy because it also showed like the diversity that we have and who is it that is eligible to be sent to events. So
Absolutely.
it's any child that is has experienced some kind of hardship, whether it's a disability or even just a life hardship. We also want to encourage leadership. So if they're a leader in their community and they're doing good, we want to celebrate them. And so at the end of the day, this is like, this was a really cool moment to showcase how a young man who had already and continues to do so much for his community and doesn't expect a single thing in return. And so that's one of our favorite things. I know when we were talking about his story, that we were like, wow, like it was inspirational for us to be like, look at all he's able to do. Here we are trying to, we're all excited about, and again, rightfully so for our foundation, we're like, he's already got his beat by miles. And so it's like, we can learn a lot from him, even if it was just like learning his ambition and how he carried himself and how he continued to carry himself after, and also just his gratefulness of the whole thing. It's like he could not say thank you enough, and his family. Once again, it's we were so excited to welcome more family into our For the Guy family.
You're completely right, Laura. And the thing about it, we've learned something from every single kid that we've sent to an event. As well as, I know you were talking about requirements, Laura. The last requirement that we need to mention is it can be 18. It's 17 and under, but if they are 18 and still in their senior year of high school, they are eligible for one of our For the Guy experiences. So I wanted to make sure that we threw that out there as well, because we may be talking a little bit more about that a little later. Jaime, I know you and I are probably going to do a lot of the talking about the next event. As far as why we chose this next event that we sent someone to. When I found out that WrestleMania was going to be at AT&T Stadium in 2022, I immediately sent it to everybody. I was like, we're doing this. We have to make sure that this happens. Like, we just have to make sure it happens. And Jaime, why was WrestleMania the right fit at the time for your logic at the time?
It kind of goes back to the first time WrestleMania was, which was way back in 2016. It was WrestleMania 32.
32.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, WrestleMania 32. And at the time, Angelo, Angelo actually had there was a situation where, he had gotten sick. Thankfully, he was able to kind of pull himself through. And we'd always talked about growing up, and going through high school and even beyond that, is like, man, WrestleMania ever comes to DFW, we got to be there. We got to go to this. This is the event we've always talked about. We've gone to Raw. We've gone to, Saturday Night Main Event. We've gone to other events and enjoyed being in that and just kind of reliving some of those moments we had as a kid. So when WrestleMania 38 came around and the opportunity to go to effectively a 2-night event, it being possibly one of the biggest WrestleManias out there, the matches on the card and just everything was starting to line up of like, okay, this is an event we cannot miss. And Dylan, like you said, when it came up and we knew it was coming to DFW, we were like, we've got to send someone to this. We absolutely have to put in those seats. They've got to watch this, and they've got to experience the same thing that we did as kids, was seeing our favorite wrestlers and just being part of that crowd, and ultimately having that same excitement level every time someone jumps into the ring, or every time there's a 3 count, or just anything that goes on.
You're completely right, Jaime. And I've been to, I think I've been to a lot of WrestleManias in my lifetime. I think I'm up to 12 now. And the reason I knew that this event was perfect for us is because even to this day, I'm going on my 12th, 13th WrestleMania. It never gets old. It is still my favorite day of the year, being there in the crowd. And it's just an amazing experience every single year, whether it's, the best show ever, or whether there's just some sort of spectacle about WrestleMania that draws everybody in. But
the other thing I was going to say is that with that first WrestleMania that came around, that was my first WrestleMania. And
yes,
Angelo got to see the excitement in my eyes when I'm gonna be a kid. When I heard that Stone Cold Steve Austin music, the pop of the crowd, I started jumping up and down, and his eyes just lit up, looking at me like he's really excited for this. Like this is his favorite wrestler.
You're completely right. That was an awesome show, and it was cool that you got to go, with Angelo for your first WrestleMania as well. Because a little bit later we'll talk about my first WrestleMania experience with Angelo. I'll mention that a little bit, but yeah, it's just your first time there. It's just crazy. But we did receive a nomination for Chelsea Serrano. She was able to go to her first WWE event, the 2-night WrestleMania Spectacular at AT&T Stadium. As you can see, we did bring Angelo's doppelganger as well. So if you go back on Peacock and watch WrestleMania Sunday, I think it was on Peacock for WrestleMania 38, you might see Angelo in the crowd, like me holding it up the whole time, especially during the beginning at Triple H's entrance. But I think the cool part about WrestleMania or this particular event for me is just Chelsea was the life of the party, not only at the event, but even like when we met her over Zoom, when we told her that she was going to WrestleMania. You saw the picture there of her flexing her muscles. She automatically started talking about wrestling, and then she started showing us her muscles. Like she was awesome and so much fun to be around.
It's still my favorite photo we've done for 40 Guy.
I love that photo.
It was special thanks to Gerardo, her dad, for sending that story in as well. But Jaime, I don't know if you want to tell this story or if I should, but we have this thing where we feel Angelo's presence at every single event that we've had happen. I don't know if you want to tell this story, Jaime, or if but Angelo made his presence known at that event.
Yeah, let me kind of dive into it, and then obviously fill in where things that I missed, because I just remember being so excited, for Chelsea, and just wanting to make sure she had a great time, and going into this WrestleMania, knowing we were going to send someone to our first multi-day event. One of the things that I mentioned about the last WrestleMania is when I heard the pop of Stone Cold Steve Austin, I got super excited. And when sending someone there, you kind of look into the crowd and you see everything that's going on. Well, one of the things that that the people on the floor get is they get to take with them a chair. It's basically a custom designed chair designed for that night. And that's kind of your takeaway when you're sitting on the floor. Now Chelsea did not, she didn't have floor seats. She was sitting kind of in the crowd. The crowd section that she was with absolutely loved her. And like Dylan mentioned, it almost feels like Angelo makes his presence known at whatever event we're at, and it kind of gives us the idea that, like, okay, this was the right thing. We made the right choice. And obviously every choice we've made so far, when we've knocked it out of the park, every kid has been great. So where Angelo's presence kind of is felt on that first night, as we're walking back to our car and we're kind of reliving the memory with Chelsea of like, oh my God, this was great. This was a great event, and we're so excited, and just seeing how excited she was and knowing that, like, hey, you get to come back for another day. And she was just pumped about that. Well, we're sitting there and we're talking and we're taking pictures and just talking about everything.
Mind you, the parking lot was just packed. So there was no leaving. We were there for a little bit.
we were going to hang out there for a little bit, just talking about WrestleMania. So kind of like I mentioned, about these floor seats, they're custom designed chairs with the design on them. The first night had it was a drawn picture of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kevin Owens, and Stone Cold doing his famous stunner. So as we're sitting there in this parking lot, this truck pulls up, and it's a dad and his son, and they're sitting there talking, and they kind of gesture over to us, and they're like, hey, are you guys from around here? And we're like, yeah, we're all pretty much local. So they had two chairs with them because they had floor seats. And the dad is like, hey, we're flying out, we're only going to take one with us. do you guys want one of these chairs? And instantly we were like, Chelsea, this would be the perfect gift for you. And all of us are thinking like, oh my goodness, how is it that, again, Angelo's presence is felt? We're like, how do these things happen? We're like, you know what? That's just the kind of excitement that happens. That's the thing Angelo would love to see happen. There's the chair right there. Like Angelo would love to see these things happen. And if anybody could get a chance to live in that kind of moment, to get that kind of excitement, that was it. And so for all of us who are like, Angelo had some kind of input on that. There's no doubt in my mind that he was there that night. He made his presence felt.
You are completely right, Jaime. The only thing I remember is getting chills, of course, after that happened, because definitely felt the spirit of Angelo there. But also, I know you said they asked if we wanted the chair, but they didn't even ask. The dad had the boy get out and handed the chair to Chelsea.
That's right.
That made it so much more spectacular to me. It was a great night, and we still had another night of WrestleMania to go. Chelsea, there's videos on, I believe, our Facebook page of Chelsea up in the stands just dancing and being the life of the party, and the entire stands cheering her on before the show, during the show. It was just a great time. I guess next we can go ahead and move on to our fourth event, which I know a couple of people I'd probably say a few people in this call were very excited about at the time, because I know myself being a graduate of the University of Texas at Austin, Jaime being a graduate of the University of Texas at Austin, I'll throw the hook 'em, and Tony loving UT and marrying an Aggie. I'm surprised you threw up the hook'em in the video there, Tony.
I'll still do the hook'em. I still go to Texas games.
And it's recorded.
Yeah, we got that on record, Tony. But this was a new journey for us. We wanted to send someone to a college football game. And myself being a Longhorns fan, and then I feel like everybody here can agree that the biggest regular season football game every single year is Texas versus Oklahoma. Every single year. And it was a new journey for us, because we understood that we might not get a lot of nominations from Dallas. And the people nominated, they don't have to be from the Dallas area, so I don't want to set that precedent. But of course, with us being located in the Dallas area, it's a little bit more financially responsible for us to send someone that is from that area. So we knew that we probably weren't going to get a ton of people from Dallas. I live in Austin myself.
Dylan, 1 second. Dallas Fort Worth.
Oh, sorry, Dallas Fort Worth. DFW. Sorry. Yeah, Angelo's probably cussing me right now, saying, "Hey man, I'm from Fort Worth. You got to say Dallas."
Not me being like, yes, Dallas, because I'm the Dallas girl, but I was like, let me just add this so we don't upset anybody. Let me just say the Fort Worth part.
But yeah, so we took a little bit of a chance, being that we knew that it was going to be possibly a little bit more expensive than our normal events that we have done. If we ended up getting a nomination from Austin, we would obviously have to get a hotel. We would have to, ensure their transportation is okay. If we had to provide that in any way as well, we would have to make sure that we were financially responsible enough to be capable of doing that. Jaime, as the other resident Texas fan, what do you remember? But before we kind of reveal the story of our recipient, what do you remember about that event and the ambition to do that?
Really, it was the kind of going through the logistics of it. I mean, like you said, this was the first time we were going to be sending someone from outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Just thinking like, okay, how do we coordinate all this? How do we ensure that not just that we have the ticket to the event, the parking at the State Fair of Texas, which if anyone's been to the State Fair knows parking can be a challenge. I mean, it is jam-packed any day of the week for the fair, but specifically for the Texas OU game, it can get very, very hectic. I mean, I've experienced it myself, both at the game and not at the game, and it's it'll make you want to pull your hair out. And then on top of that, you layer in the travel time to DFW and just staying in and around, and just couple all of that with all of the reservations that are going to be on that weekend, trying to coordinate that and really testing out, kind of what we set out in our bylaws about, giving a child the chance to go to an event like this. This is pretty much testing every facet that we had, and we had discussions long into the night, day in, day out, about like, okay, are we within the right parameter? Are we doing this right? Are we going to be able to do this? And can we do this? What kind of challenges do those present? And I think this kind of gave us that opportunity to kind of step out of our comfort zone with what we had done in the previous 3 events and really try something new. So, and Dylan, I think one thing that kind of ties it all together is that every event that we've done has kind of tested that. It has always tested what have we done, but also what can we do. And so far, I mean, just the communication that we've all had about like, okay, are we thinking about the things that we should be? Are we thinking about the logistical issues, safety issues? Are we thinking about, how they can get to and from? I think for every conversation that we've had, and for every time we're looking at the event, every one of us has had something that we can kind of fall back on and say like, hey, did we think about this? Whether it's it's Tony saying like, hey guys, we got to think about this, or Laura saying, guys, I appreciate the ambition, but we really got to talk about this. I think Laura's like our voice of reason, and she's probably just gonna nod her head.
She is our voice of reason. She keeps us in check,
definitely,
for sure.
She really does.
I'm gonna step on that just for a second, and one of the big reasons we're able to think differently, go about different things, is from people donating. So,
yep.
I mean, we do have our donation on Facebook, or you can go to the website www.fortheguy.org, and just, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we are hoping, to get more donations so we can keep doing these things. Like Jaime was bringing up, if we're going to keep doing bigger and better, that is something that is needed. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there real quick.
Every single dollar that we raise goes into the mission. Like,
yep.
Every single dollar goes towards our events and what helps us hit our goals and our mission statements. But yeah, I know you saw it in the comments, but we got a nomination and sent Michael Trevino Jr. to the Texas versus Oklahoma game. Michael had a lifelong dream to go to Texas versus Oklahoma. And I had to throw this in there. Not only did he get to go, but the Horns won 49-0 during the game. It was a great atmosphere.
Best one ever.
Oh, I call that a good day.
Yeah. I love the picture of him as a kid.
A little bit of background on Michael. Michael's dad is in the comments here saying thank you for sending his son to the first his first OU Texas game. Michael, we got to flip that around. It's Texas OU, but yes. And I know you say Dylan is awesome there. I couldn't do it without my friends here, kind of keeping me in check. But I did kind of handle that event since I am living in the Austin area, and Michael is from Austin as well. But it was, and he also just said best day ever. It really was. I hope Michael, I know at the end of the day, Michael told you that he wanted to do this every year, and I hope in the future you do get to go to another Texas OU game, because it is one of my favorite days of the year as well. But a little bit of background on Michael. His grandpa was basically his best friend. They always, being from Austin, if people are in the comments and they're from Austin, you can kind of relate to this. Or if you're a big Cowboys fan, if you're from Dallas, Fort Worth. On Saturdays and Sundays, football is king in Texas, and it brings families together. And that was kind of what brought this family together, was their love of Longhorns football. Unfortunately, Michael did lose his grandpa. I believe it was 6 months or so before this game happened. So that was kind of where his nomination stemmed from. But we were really happy to bring a smile to his face and for him to have that awesome day. And we have one last event that we've done. We've done 5 events so far. And this one was possibly our biggest risk yet, I guess you could say. Because when we heard that Taylor Swift was going on tour, we absolutely knew that this was going to be a challenge. We knew that, I'm sure as some of you know, that Ticketmaster was going to be crazy to try and get these tickets. And we can talk a little bit more about that. But I did want to say that on our social media page, there is a video that was posted today that shares our recipient's full story. But I'll go ahead and add it here. So Taylor Swift, we knew it was a huge tour. We knew it was going to be a hot ticket. I wanted to give a little bit about the behind the scenes of that day. I know that I was giving Tony, Laura, and Jaime a play-by-play of what was going on. I was sitting right in this very chair.
Very stressful. Very stressful.
It was the most stressful day ever. I waited, I believe, 7-8 hours in the same ticket queue. The website crashed like 3 times trying to get these tickets. And then once we finally got tickets, all of us just sigh of relief. Every single one of us. Laura, were you trying to get tickets that day as well? I feel like that might have been part of it, but you can definitely talk about why we chose Taylor Swift.
So I was also, well, I shouldn't say was. I am a Swiftie to some extent. And so as soon as we heard, we know, again, y'all have heard kind of like a theme where we had been sending to very similar sporting events. And one thing we wanted to do was, hey, we need to bring some music into this too, right? And so we just want to make sure that we, it's kind of, you can get an idea of who is like in and what not in, because again, it's based on nominations. But we did not have any doubt that we would get nominations for Taylor Swift, right? We're like, okay, this one, we know it's a big one. And so I like that earlier. And we mean it when we say every single dollar, every single penny that is donated to us, it does go for the mission. We do not, I mean, not that we're being questioned or anything, but we do not take any of it for ourselves. So I think it's funny because, you know, even then, like when the tickets were purchased, Dylan literally only purchased the number needed for our recipient, right? And but yes, I remember being like, I myself like tried, I was working, did not stay as long as sweet Dylan, being patient through many hours to make sure that we made it happen. And I'm so glad that it did. And yeah, I remember all of our excitement when it was official, because we were, as just probably a lot of you too, were hearing all the very sad stories of people that waited forever and ever and ever and were not successful in getting them. You know, was it Dylan and Jaime earlier mentioned how we keep feeling like we get little Angelo moments of him showing himself. And I remember we all said this was an Angelo moment, because for it to have happened and the way that it happened and for us to have him secured, and like, it was a big deal. We were really, really excited about this.
I feel like when I got the tickets in my cart, I feel like the website crashed and then it came back up magically and I was very shocked by it. And that's why we said this was Angelo. But
Yeah,
yes, Go ahead.
We always talk about, like, you know, a lot of these things don't happen by chance, and you know, when these things do happen, we're like, okay, Angelo is involved somehow. It just there's no way he's not. And you know, I like to think like, man, it's, you know, that's him. That's it. I was like, yep, that's Angelo right there, doing this, doing his thing, pulling his strings.
So this right here is Delilah, and Delilah was our Taylor Swift recipient. Back when the Reputation tour was in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Delilah's mother promised her that one day they'd go to a Taylor Swift concert together. This was on the precipice of their own grief, with Delilah having unfortunately lost her dad. But we were very happy when we heard Delilah's story to be able to help her help Danette, which is Delilah's mother, keep that promise to make sure that they got to go to that Taylor Swift concert. And Danette is actually in the comments right now. And she said, if it wants to come up here, we are forever grateful that you won the Great Ticketmaster War. It was a very crazy day. I was probably sweating the entire day, and I've never, even, you know, when I go to WrestleMania every year, there was nothing like that. That was the craziest ticket buying experience that I have ever that I've ever had. Tony and Jaime, I know you both were able to have lunch with them. So talk a little bit about y'all's experience with them.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say, with this one, we weren't able to get everyone together to let Danette know that we were going to be picking Delilah. So I would say it was really great for me that I was able to call her and let her know that we were going to pick Delilah and start working on just going through setting everything up, working with them. And it was such a great moment for me. I mean, when telling her, and it was just awesome. Like I cried at the end of it. It was just so cool to be a part of giving that experience to someone. And I was just telling Danette that we were going to help her keep that promise. And I love that we were able to do that as a foundation, is help her mom keep the promise to Delilah. And then me and Jaime, like you said, we got to sit down and meet them for lunch. And it was great, we were asking Delilah, favorite songs and things like that before letting her know that we were sending her to the concert. And my favorite part of the whole lunch was I asked Delilah what her favorite song was. She got real shy, and Danette, I hope you're okay with me saying this. She got real shy and like looked at her mom, and her mom, Danette's like, yeah, you can tell them. She was like, it's vigilante, and then it's the S word. And she was so nervous to say that was her favorite song because it had the S word in it. And it made me, I just started laughing. It was because I just thought it was the funniest. It was just showed how kind her heart was too, and just how sweet she was, that she was so nervous to say what her favorite song was because there was a curse word in it. And I just loved that. I thought that was just a sweet moment for her.
That's adorable. I hadn't heard that story, but Jaime?
Yeah, Jaime.
Yeah, and to kind of tie into where we are and how we got there. I mean, I think the shared connection that we have here is a sense of loss, and not having Angela with us, and for Delilah and Danette not having having their dad, and really just being able to kind of come full circle with everything that that you're dealing with, and to be able to turn a moments like this into something exciting, something that you can kind of help get through that grief and help you kind of go beyond that, and really it kind of gives you a sense of, hey, you know what, I think we're okay, I think we're good now, we're in a good spot. And the different things do that for different people. And for some it's sporting events, some it's wrestling events, and for some it absolutely is music. And music has a way of healing things, of making things just kind of go away, even if it's temporary. Music has a way of being that thing that can kind of bridge things together and kind of heal things up, and really kind of help you process all the emotions you're experiencing and going through. And with this event, we really did hope that she got to experience that, and really to sing along with her favorite songs for the entire night, just to be able to kind of have that memory with her. And to me, that was something that kind of helped us through that, and then really made it feel like, okay, this was a good one. This was a challenging one, but this was a good event to push all the way through.
Do y'all think this girl's Swiftie? Do
I
y'all
was
think
about to say that face of joy.
Picture,
I don't know.
Like, my favorite picture from the event. Like, I don't know what song that was or anything like that, but it had to be one of the favorites for sure.
It was probably Vigilante. I will say, and I know you pointed out, Dylan, that we put out the video today, but watch the video, and just her mom shared some of the videos from that night showing how happy she was. And it just brings such joy to us to see the videos and the pictures of how happy she was at the event. And please take the time to watch the video. It's really amazing. They did really good work.
And they also made sure to bring For the Guy with them, which I thought was really, really cool. We noticed that, Jeanette. We noticed that. So thank you.
Well, before we transition into our next one, we've got another special video that was sent in to us. So here's that.
Hi, congrats on another successful Angelo's opening day. Well, there's been a lot going on here with us lately. The For the Guy Foundation completely changed our lives by sending us to Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. Delilah, why don't you tell them what that meant to you?
It meant the world to me.
And how did it make you feel?
It made me feel happy, real happiness.
Absolutely. Me too. And that is the greatest gift that you can give someone is their happiness back. We hadn't felt that level of happiness in a really long time. Watching her, shed the weight of her armor and just come to life and be a kid again, just jumping around and having a good time. That cathartic release with 70,000 other Swifties singing songs that were so dear to us, songs that represented our loss, that represented our heartbreak, that represented destruction, that represented love, that represented happiness, that represented rebirth. It was such a beautiful moment that forever altered our brain chemistry, and we will never be the same again. We are forever better people because of this experience. Delilah, how does it change the way you look at hard things?
Well, whenever there's something hard, I think, if Taylor can get up in front of 70,000 people in high heels every weekend for 3.5 hours, I can do this one thing.
Absolutely, you can. So we know all too well that it really is the little things that matter most in life. So why not have a good time? And that is exactly what For the Guy did for us. It let us have a good time again. It let us have fun and be happy. And that is priceless. And just remember, it's okay not to be okay.
But please stay.
See you at the next one.
It's so
I'm
hard not to
crying,
be
you're
emotional. I'm like, I've seen it before and I still get emotional.
No.
Yeah, I'm not crying. You're crying. I will say, just so you guys are aware, I did call dibs on the duck. So
Oh,
I did call dibs on the For the Guy duck. So I will be picking that up soon.
She did.
It's gonna make its way around, Tony, for sure.
Nope, I called dibs. I called dibs.
just bring it to our events. Just
Deal.
bring it to the events.
Deal.
That's okay.
That's a deal.
And Danette did comment to let us know that the face that she made in the picture was the face that she made when the Reputation snake flashed on the screen, starting the Reputation portion of the show.
Love it.
And we got people crying in the comments too. So
I know I am still too. I'm trying to compose myself right now.
We're with you guys. We're with you guys. But we wanted to kind of, before we go into the future of our foundation and where we're going to go next, we wanted to first kind of talk about the past and how we met Angelo. So I guess I can go ahead and start. I know someone in this call had a big, I don't know, I guess you could call it a big role in me meeting Angelo. Because it was the day that I moved into my college dorm. And Lacey, we see you in the comments. We see Corbin's mom, Lacey's in the comments now. She says hi. It was my first day at the dorm, and I know we were talking about how everybody except Jaime met Angelo through Brazos Hall at UT Arlington. And I was walking in to move in for my freshman year. And as I'm walking up the stairs, I had my Texas Rangers pillowcase that I believe it was a giveaway at one of the games that I got it from. But I had my Texas Rangers pillowcase, and this girl just walks up to me and is like, "Oh my gosh, you're a Ranger fan too." And I was like very intimidated, like, what? I just walked in this door. Who are you? Like, she was the welcoming committee. And if you haven't guessed by now, I'm talking about Laura here. But she told me, she was like, "There's someone that I need you to meet." And I was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I'll be at the snow cone thing later. I think it was like a snow cone mixer that we had specifically for Brazos residents. And that was when I went to, or when I went to the snow cone mixer. Laura found me again, and she walked me over to Angelo. And if you don't know Angelo, he does kind of have this like aura about him where I knew this guy runs this place. Like you just know it immediately. I knew that he ran the place, and it was kind of intimidating in a way, kind of like Laura intimidated me when she walked up to me for the first time. But something about him, I just knew. I was like, okay, this is going to be a really good friend for life. I didn't know how good, but I think like 5 days later, we were already at our first Ranger game together. And the rest is history. Jaime, you've known him the longest, so if you want to go next, feel free.
Yeah, I'm gonna go way back. You know, Angelo and I actually we went to high school together. Started out at Trimble Tech High School over in Southside Fort Worth, Texas. I probably met Angelo the first couple of days into school. It was hard not to notice who he was. You know, in our school, long hallways, and anybody who knows Angelo, he had his motorized chair. Well, you can hear that thing coming from miles away, just in the hallway wherever he's at. And I remember the first time I met him, I could hear his chair, and it was coming around the hallway, and I already knew who he was. You kind of hear about like, hey, this is Angelo. We're like, yeah, this guy's pretty cool. He was coming pretty fast. He was going around the corner. He zips around, and I'm like, oh man, Angelo's in a hurry. And this is before I really got a chance to know him. Whizzes right by me. His chair runs right over my feet. I just remember being in a lot of pain, and he just kind of, as he's going down, he throws up his hand, sorry, runs off. At this point, I'm like, all right, I got to get to class. I get to class.
So run them over, as your mom said in the comments.
Sure enough, I get to class, and who shows up through the door is Angelo. And he looks at me, and we lock eyes, and I'm like, I see you. And he sits there, and he's like, my bad, man. I really had to go to the bathroom. From that moment on, we were friends. We were just about inseparable throughout school, and even after that, we'd go to countless Ranger games, Cowboys games. We even had a standing bet on Thanksgiving. Every time Texas and TCU played, the loser bought dinner at Old South. I won my fair share. He probably won, more of his fair share, but that's kind of how I met him. And pretty much every event that we've had a chance to do, I've done it with him. And the stories that we tell you, I mean, the stories that you hear from us, I got a ton of those, and just the things that we did, and some things are like, all right, these are stories you really want to tell your friends, because they'll get you laughing, they'll get you going.
Yeah, completely right. Tony?
Yeah, so my story is kind of similar to Dylan's. It was my first day freshman year of college at the University of Texas Arlington. I just moved into Brazos, and I was sitting in the lobby, no one else was in there, and I was just watching a movie by myself, and I hear him start wheeling over, and I just hear, I love this movie. And I was just like, what's going on? Who's this guy? And he just started chatting with me, and we just kind of talked about things and got to know each other a little bit. And then we decided, it's first day of school. Let's head over to Walmart and get some snacks and make a little movie night out of it. And as we're walking in, people are walking by us, and he's just like, Dad, when's mommy coming home? And I'm just like, I just met this kid, and he's and I'm just like, I don't know what to say. And I'm just like kind of confused. And then he just looks at me, he's like, man, you should have saw your face when I said that. And I was like, as soon as that happened, I was like, I like this guy. So, that night we ended up, spent the whole night together. We watched movies, we got snacks, we went to McDonald's at like 3 a.m. and we're the number one ticket for that day. And he kept that receipt for I don't know how long, because he loved the fact that at McDonald's for that day, he was the first person that got to buy something. And it was just the first weekend of college, and it was just so much fun to get to know him, and instantly had that connection in Brazos. And I mean, a lot of people who know Angelo know him through Brazos, and it's just how quickly he made that from a dorm to a home. So I know, Laura knows that, Dylan knows that. It's just incredible how quickly he just makes you feel like you're the most important thing to him. And he did that for me on my first day of school. So I really appreciated that. And like the rest of us, went to a lot of games with him. So we definitely got our fair share of good memories, from World Series to seeing them clinch the division. And it's just, yeah, just the best memories were with Angelo. So Laura, let you go next.
We actually used to compete. Him and I used to compete on who was Mr. and Mrs. Brazo, or King and Queen of Brazos. It used to be a friendly friendly competition between him and I quite often. But let's be real, he was always for sure ahead of me. He, like, was it Dylan that said it was very well known that he knew. Everyone knew him. Everyone knew him. That's for sure. So for me, I was actually just telling the guys just before this, I was able to pinpoint the day. It was October 6th, 2010. We'll be like, dang, Laura, how do you remember the exact date? Well, because sure enough, I had moved in to Brazos in the fall of 2010. I knew my roommate just by chance. We had class together the previous semester. It was my first time getting to live on campus, and I got really lucky. The thing about Brazos, not only was it a family, but let's be real, super cheap and affordable. You were not required a meal plan. And so all of us, but again, more importantly, it was just it had the reputation that once you got in, you didn't leave, right? You stayed there. And so I had come, I was working in Dallas still, and the Rangers had made it to the playoffs, and it was super exciting. And I remember that I was rushing home. I was listening to the game on the radio. They were playing the Tampa Bay Rays. And I remember that I was trying really fast because I wanted to see it on TV. And so I was rushing in, and I ended up going through the lobby, and I saw that it was on the big TV. And y'all probably won't know this, but I actually, like, when I first moved in, I was not chatty. Like, most people would be like, yeah, right, Laura. No, in all reality, I was not chatty because I didn't know
Lies.
anybody. No, I promise. So, like, I didn't know anybody. And so once you get to know them, it's a different story, clearly. But I remember I was like, oh, it's that struggle. I was like, they already have it on here. It's already in, and it's exciting. And so I remember asking, is it okay if if I watch it? And the other guy that was present was Tony. So it was Tony and Angelo watching the game. This is before we met Dylan. Dylan, this was a year prior. And so Tony and Angelo were watching the game. They said, yeah, that's fine. So then it was between innings, and Angelo, of course, comes on over to me and he says, hi, what's your name? And that is, who would have thought that in that just by chance introduction of, being really quickly, of me running through the lobby, that I was going to meet like somebody that was going to change my life. Right. And so that is how we met. And he learned very quickly. I mentioned earlier about my love for Elvis. And he said he liked Elvis too. They played the Tampa Bay Rays that series. They won. And then for the ALCS, they played the Yankees. And it was the night before they clinched for the World Series that Tony, and Tony, correct me if I mess any of this part up. Yeah. But the boys had gotten word that Elvis was at Hooters. And it was the night before the clinching game. Yep. And they rushed over there. Why they didn't tell me on their way over there, I still don't know to this day. But
yeah, I got a call from one of the other guys in Brazos that said Elvis is at Hooters right now, and I'm sorry, my first call was Angelo, and it was one of those let's get there now situations. And so we got there. We went over to say hi to Elvis, and we got there, and Elvis kind of just looked at us and was like, if you sit down and not talk baseball, I'll give you World Series tickets. Angelo sat down, said, how's the love life? And we had dinner, and sure enough, we were lucky enough to get some World Series tickets out of the deal. So I'll let you kind of go from there.
And the big part of me sharing this part is because we wanted all of you to see how, like, you know, what we're saying about what we would see him do for others, it was just as much like he did that for all of us as well. And, you know, at different times. It wasn't just a one-time thing, but this was my first one. So the World Series, obviously, Rangers clinched. And so since Elvis had promised him, I love that, Lacey, because Elvis had told him that they would get home game tickets. And so Angelo went, I want to say with Tony, right? He went to one World Series game with him. Well, for game 5,
Game 4.
it was also a home game. And so Angelo's like, Lauda, do you want to go? Broke college student. I was like, bro, I can't afford going to this game. And he's like, no, I have, like, you know, Elvis gonna get us the tickets. So I was like, yes. And he knew, again, my excitement. He knew my love for the Rangers. This guy had known me at most a month, maybe, but already he wanted to add a life experience, like, for me. And so we ended up going. There had been some miscommunication. The tickets were not like the tickets weren't there. However, Angela, being Angela, did not give up. He was determined. If he was telling you he's going to get you an experience, he's going to, like, do whatever he can to make sure that it happens. And he used his charm, but also because he was such a frequent visitor of the ballpark, a lot of the staff there knew him very well. And so he was able to pull some strings, and they gave us some tickets for the World Series. We paid less than $100 for them. For those tickets, they were worth a lot more. And I will always, again, the Rangers sadly lost, but you would have not known it. I think we were all so excited, just as Rangers fans, we're all so excited they made it to the World Series in the first place because we were not expecting that at the start of the season. But it was so much fun. Something I also remember from that game that we literally for many years would always, it was our inside joke, is that there was this the cutest fun fact about me, and Angela would always, Dylan too, would always remind me, I have such a love for the elderly. I just think they're so adorable. And one of the first times we got to see that love was at that game, the Game 5 game. There was an elderly Rangers fan, and at the time, the catcher for the Giants was Posey, Buster Posey. And so she would say, ring around the rosy, let's strike out Posey. And over and over. And for many, many like years after, we would always, that was our inside joke. But I always go back and I say that is such one of, like, my earliest, because it was my early memories with him. And like I said, he didn't know me very well, but he made it a point to make sure that not only he, like, the experience he was having for himself, he had already gone the game before. So he could have said he went to a World Series game, but it meant so much to him to make sure that I also had that experience. So how was that?
I love hearing everybody's stories about how they met him and just stories about him in general. So if anybody has any stories, feel free to send them our way. Feel free to comment them. But before we go into what's next for our foundation, I know we did want to get to some thank yous. If any of you all want to go first, feel free.
Kick us off, Dylan.
Okay. Yeah, well, definitely thank you to all of our For the Guy family. Anybody who's ever donated to us, like we were saying earlier, every single dollar goes towards what we do. Sarah McGlasson has been our first donor for 4 years running on Angelo's opening day. First donor of the day every single year so far. Nicholas Hyatt, who helps us tremendously with operating expenses by donating to our cause on a monthly basis. And if anybody would like to set up a recurring donation, you can do that at fortheguy.org as well. Anybody, like we were saying earlier, anybody who has been vulnerable enough to share a kid's story, to nominate them to go to an event with us. And also, Angelo's family has been very supportive every step of the way of our For the Guy journey. So I extend my heartfelt gratitude, and I know I speak for everybody on this call, for entrusting us with the honor of carrying his legacy going forward to carry on his legacy through the work of our foundation. And then, of course, thanks to you guys. I like to refer to us as the four. So thank you for not only keeping me in check when my brain is going crazy with ideas of how to expand next and where to take it from here, but I truly wouldn't want anybody else by my side as we continue to grow this foundation from the bottom up. So.
Yeah, I think another is our families. I think all of our family members at one point or another during this live have commented or said something. So I know Jaime's mom's been on it, my dad's been on it, Dylan's family's been on it. We can't have a meeting without Laura's sister calling during it. So she's an unofficial member as well because she called during every single meeting, including
Every
1 minute
single
before
meeting.
including 1 minute before we went live on this.
And
So
no, it's not planned, y'all. It's not planned. It's just like she has this like sixth sense.
But yeah, I just think the fact that our families have been so supportive and helping us through all this has just been incredible. So I want to throw that out there.
I also so sorry. Okay. I also want to say like thank you so much. I know Dylan said to all the stories that have been shared, and just to expand a little bit more on that, of everyone, even the ones that have not been selected, like just taking that time and doing so, it means so much to us, as well as to all of the families that have, like, all of our for embracing us and for trusting us, because I can't, like, we always say, even though it's been a few years now, we still are learning each and every day with each event, and being patient with us of it not, like maybe there are hiccups, and just being gracious with us. We also want to say thank you. And then also for all of those that have, we said like the donations, but also for those that have shared our foundation, whether it's sharing our social media pages, whether it's following, whether it's liking, whether it's whatever it is that you have done, whether it's you sharing your stories with us, it continues like to let us know that we have you're a part of this family too, and that our family is so big and expansive. So we could not do this without each and every single one of you.
I'll even go out there and say, like, as much as like it's, our friends, our family, it's also some, other friends of Angelo's that were closest to us and closest to him that, had an impact on this too, whether it was by asking where they could help get involved, asking how the foundation was doing, asking even during some of the hardest times, asking how we're doing. Just, how are we doing? Are we doing okay? You want to talk about it? Go eat dinner. I mean, can't tell you how many times I'd gone to dinner early on with a few people that were closest to Angelo, people that had known him forever and, for the longest time, even longer than me. And just being able to connect with them. And I think the one thing that we kind of found in that is that even though we lost something today, 4 years ago, we lost something that day, we gained a lot too, in each other, in this foundation, and through people that were closest to Angelo. So it's a thank you to all of them for staying connected with us and asking how the foundation is doing and where they can get involved when it's stuff like that really helps things keep going.
You're completely right, Jaime. Couldn't have said it better myself. But I guess now we can make the big announcement of what our next event is going to be. All right. Are we all going to do this together? All right, guys. 3, 2, 1. Ranger game.
Dallas Mavericks.
Yes.
What? I wrote something different down.
That was weird.
Okay. Wait. What did you say, Tony?
I said Dallas Mavericks. I mean, we got Luka Doncic here. We got Kyrie. I mean, they're looking pretty good.
Okay. What did Jaime say?
Dude, I said something about the Stars. Because Angelo loved the Stars.
I mean, you're right. Laura, what did you say?
I said FC Dallas. Soccer's big here, and Angelo also loved FC Dallas.
Well, I said Rangers because I figured we were just going to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
But why not just do all 4? That's right. Let's do that.
I like
4
that.
events. We're going to do 4 events, 4 years for the guy. How about that?
Y'all, thank you. We would not be able to do this. We are actually so excited when this idea came up. If you have also not gathered, the number 4 means so much to us. It's in so many ways. And the yay FC Dallas, Felicia. But yes, we would not be able to make this happen if it wasn't for your support. So I don't want to get too ahead, Dylan. So cut me off if that's the case. But it is a big deal. This is our first time attempting to do this many events in such a short time. But we are going to need all the nominations too. So if you're wondering how can I get involved, share. Once those links are up for the nominations, please help us get the message out, because we definitely want to make sure that we send a deserving kiddo and their loved one to these events.
You are completely right. Donate. This is our biggest fundraiser of the year. So anything that you donate to us goes directly towards these events and to our mission. I know we've got a lot of future goals, but we can kind of talk about those. Maybe we'll do this again. I know there's a North Texas Giving Day coming up soon, so maybe we'll do another similar broadcast of this. But if it's okay with you all, I'll go ahead and close this out for the night.
Take it away.
Well, thank you again to everybody who has supported our foundation. Like we were saying, we couldn't do this without you, and we hope that tonight not only did you get to see how your donations impact our mission, but also, if you knew Angelo, we hope that tonight's broadcast brought a smile to your face. Like we were saying earlier, today's a bittersweet day for us all, and we miss our brother dearly. But we're happy to turn what should be a sad day into something positive, because I think everybody on this call and everybody listening at home can agree. He would have wanted it to be this way. He would have wanted us to be positive at the end of the day. But as he said at the end of every broadcast that we did together, call your loved ones, enjoy your night, and be safe wherever you are. And as always, we'll see you at the next one.
Hey there, how's it going, man? I hope you're having a good one. I hope you're having a great day at work or wherever you're at. Yeah, that's about it. Take care. Love you. Talk to you later.